I'd like to start the morning's conversation with a question to each panelist and a long tweet back, but no more than a long tweet. So if I scroll to page 3 of the report, it tells me that CEOs score South Africa a 2 out of 5, and the great frustration is we should be a 4 out of 5. I mean, that begs the question, where's the missing 1 to make us the perfect 5? But the observation is we're sitting at 2. And my sense is this isn't a 2 and rising. It's a 2 and falling. Your sense, your observations, your dipstick on the landscape. Jackie, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. The 2 out of 5, I think it's definitely declining. Beginning of this year, I don't know who follows the Edelman Trust report every year. They bring out a nice themed report, and this year they said it's the era of polarization. And you flip through the report, and I'm like, okay, how's South Africa ranking in the report? And we're one of the top 6 polarized countries in the world. So what drives this polarization? Of people say, I just don't have hope, and it's a very dangerous place to be in, because people saying, I'm leaving the country, I don't have hope for my kids. That's what drives this. And it's government, it's media, it's this weak social fabric that our country operates in, what drives this polarization of the country. So coming back to your question, the 2 out of 5, it's government that I think is failing to make the mature decisions, and I think that is where business saying, we're stucking this out, and we're making the difficult decisions in our businesses. We need you to hold our hand. Can we be a 4 out of 5? Yes, because of the people of our country, and that drives hope. That's why I have hope. I haven't been polarized in the note of I don't have hope for the country, but it will keep on diminishing, the 2 out of 5, if we don't have trust in government continuing going forward.
Vuyiswa.
Thanks, Adrian. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, I hope everybody else can hear me. All right, morning, everybody. So I think the observation is well made, and I'm inclined to agree with you, Jackie, that unless we do something very serious in the short term to arrest the decline, we are indeed going to continue on a downward spiral and a downward trajectory. And I want to share with you perhaps some insights that I've certainly gathered over the last few months. I've had the pleasure, through the work that Rise Mzansi has been doing in the last few months, to traverse the length and breadth of this country. I've actually seen more of this country than I've seen in my entire life, and seen parts of this country that I had never actually had exposure to. We have traveled to Danzani, to Soshanguve, to Manenberg, walking the streets of the Cape Flats, and really just having conversations with ordinary South Africans to understand what keeps them up at night and what are some of the issues that drive that sense of hopelessness that we all feel, and that's so palpable to all of us. And I want to just quickly, if I may, share 2 or 3 insights that have certainly shocked me. One of the key things that drives the sense of hope is that people have lost trust, not in just the political party that is in power, but in the political system as a whole. They've lost trust that politics is able to deliver the kind of outcomes that can deliver them a better life. So anyone and everyone who stands in front of them and says, go and vote, they say, what the heck for? Because we go and vote, and you guys don't care about us anyway. You carry on, you take our votes, you go to parliament, and you forget about us. So there's a loss of trust in the system. And that is very dangerous, actually, because what is evident is that people don't disengage from politics. They just disengage from political institutions. They still make their voices heard. They still demonstrate. They still do the things that they need to do to express themselves politically. It's just not in the way that is constructive or conducive to a functioning democracy. So that becomes very problematic. The other thing, of course, that drives the hopelessness is this sense of just being unseen. there's masses of our people in this country who just feel unseen. They say, the things that affect us on a daily basis are not the things you see in the newspaper every single day. You read about the palapalas and the this and the that and the bricks and the whatever. There are people who are, just a week ago, a woman killed herself and her children because she was hungry. The corruption that is experienced by people on a daily basis is not the corruption that gets reported on. The corruption where people have to pay for jobs, government jobs, or pay with their bodies for government jobs. Where a job, there's a cost to a job in a government local municipality. It costs 7,500 rand in some. In others, it can go up to 14,000 rand. That is the cost of a job. So these are the things that affect people that they feel don't get seen, don't get heard, and have been very eye-opening for me, certainly. So I think certainly what I think we need to start doing and what we need to urgently take action on is to, one, deeply understand what drives the hopelessness and actually go to the heart of the problem and address the heart of the problem. Because that polarization that you speak about, Jackie, is not simply driven by what perhaps many of us think it's driven by, sort of racial tensions and this. It's about certain people feeling like they have no stake in our society. So the question we need to be asking ourselves is, how do we give the millions of South Africans who feel they have no stake in South Africa Inc. A greater share of what it is of this pie?
Thank you. Stavros, you've been in the heart of the engine room over the course of the last week. You represent not just a large South African business, but a large global business. The take on South Africa in this report is 2 out of 5. Your take?
Adrian, firstly, I think we're a resilient 2. That's how I would describe it.
Resilient 2. Yeah.
Secondly, I think it's great to be on a panel with 3 out of 5 women. Okay, I think that's a great start. Mm-hmm. And let me go to some of the core of the issues. We find ourselves, probably not unsurprisingly, because if you look at the magnitude and the extent of what was achieved in 1990 and 1994, those are the two kind of milestones. The biggest challenge for me was always going to be, can we build a socially cohesive society? And we have failed dismally, unfortunately. So the social cohesion project has failed, and that is causing the social tensions more than anything else. Of course, they're underpinned by things like poverty and inequality and unequal opportunity, all of those good things. For me, what is important is, how do we fix this moving forward? Right? And that's why you've seen business become a lot more vocal recently. And I know there are two views about businesses. If you work with government, are you being co-opted? And are you exacerbating the issues? Or do you work with them and provide capacity that doesn't exist in government? Now, I'm of the latter persuasion. And I think we can sit as business people and lament our plight. There are many, many headwinds. I don't think it's worth rehearsing any headwind here today. I think every single one of us knows precisely what those headwinds are. They're not great. Many are self-imposed and self-inflicted. I accept that. But for me, the way forward is, if we are able to build a more capable state by providing capacity that doesn't exist, and Adrian, we all know how and why the capacity in the state was hollowed out. So if we compare our institutions, and SARB is one of the few institutions that's maintained itself over the last 25 years. And Tito Mboweni will tell you it was all because of him, right? Okay. But be that as it may, we know that this capacity has been hollowed out. Now you can sit back as business and say, we'll just keep shouting out at government. And the reality is we sit in an echo chamber if we do that. We represent as business in terms of voting power, a very small part of this country. The votes don't sit with business. What sits with business is the capacity, the capability, the intellectual capital, the capital that sits with business. So you've got to know where to pick your battles here. You know, going out every day and sitting in an echo chamber. I'm seeing this with NHI at the moment, my colleagues. Because it's great, we put out a great op-ed on the weekend, or we did this, we did that. The problem is a very narrow band of this country are listening to you. Mm. The question is, how do we contribute towards providing, and in many instances pro bono, it's been done pro bono, capacity to restore these institutions. Once you restore them, you also start cutting down the corruption, which is absolutely endemic. I mean, people tell me to get to a conference, you're a delegate, a legitimate delegate. You won't get your accreditation unless you pay someone off. I mean, that's how bad it is. It's like unheard of. Okay. So I'm of the persuasion here, just in conclusion, Adrian, that we're a resilient two. I think private and public working together under the right governance structures, underlined 100 times, represents the best prospect of success in our country, provided, of course, that we continue to hold government accountable. So working with government doesn't mean we cannot hold them accountable. So if the energy bill...
And vice versa.
And vice versa, absolutely. If the energy bill is being delayed, but we are working, and I'm sure we'll come back to this later, Adrian, we are working closely with government on 3 economic disablers right now. This is as organized business. I'm talking business unity South Africa. It's energy security, infrastructure logistics, and crime and corruption, those 3. And we will provide expertise, skills, know-how, capacity, capability to support government. But it's got to be government-led. It's got to be under the right governance structures. And if government needs to be called out because they're dragging their feet on energy reform, we must have that. We must have that courage, conviction, and above all, the timing to call them out. So, conclusion, Adrian, we can get to a 4, provided we land this private-public partnership appropriately.